The functional matrix theory, one of the most popular and the most dreadful theories of growth. And the most popularly asked NEET questions from any theories of growth comes from this one particular theory, which is the functional matrix theory. And if you want to study it in such a way that no matter what question is asked, you will be able to answer it like a pro, then keep watching this video. Hi, I'm Dr. Manshri Bhate, an orthodontist, and welcome to Dentistry 101 Orthodontics by Medi Study Go. In the last lecture, I had briefed everyone about all of the different and various theories of growth, and in this lecture, we'll be going through in details and depth with the functional matrix theory. So let's begin. The functional matrix concept. This is often abbreviated as the FMC or the FMT. This theory was proposed by Dr. Melvin Moss in the year 1969. So this is one of the neat nuggets here. This was proposed by Dr. Melvin Moss in 1969. The proposal of this theory revitalized growth and developmental studies. That means it increased the interest in growth and developmental studies. This addresses the inadequacies of the sutural as well as the cartilaginous growth theories. From the last lecture, if you remember, the sutural and the cartilaginous growth theories, we had gone through them. This sutural theory was proposed by Seeker and the cartilaginous theory was proposed by Scott. There were some inadequacies or some disadvantages to each of these theories, which is why they were not widely accepted. For the sutural theory, the disadvantage was that sutures do not have enough inherent growth potential in them, and therefore they cannot serve as one of the growth medium for the entire craniofacial region. Even with the cartilaginous growth theory, the cartilage alone does not have enough growth potential for serving as the growth mechanism in the entire craniofacial region, and these were some of the inadequacies which fail to explain how sutures or how cartilages function to perform the entire growth and how they exactly induced the growth. And in an attempt to address these inadequacies, the functional matrix theory was proposed. This complements the van der Klaus's functional cranial component or functional cranial component concept. This is one of the terms that you will be coming across a lot in this entire theory. So this concept was initially proposed by van der Klaus, and Dr. Melvin Moss took this concept and he has formulated his functional matrix theory. So this theory goes in complement with van der Klaus's functional cranial component concept. This theory also seeks to understand the relationship between form and function, a very, very important sentence. In the last lecture, I had told you about form follows function. That is the essence of the functional matrix theory. So form follows function. Let's see the definition of the functional matrix theory in order to understand what this simple statement means. The core concept of the functional matrix theory is that the origin, the maintenance, and the ossification of the skeletal units are secondary and compensatory to the growth of soft tissues. So with this, a simple explanation that you can see is that skeletal tissues often respond secondarily and in a compensatory manner to all of the growth changes occurring in soft tissues. And therefore, soft tissue growth is the primary action that's taking place, and only in response to this, the skeletal tissues, their origin, the maintenance, as well as the ossification takes place. So skeletal tissues respond secondarily to the growth in the soft tissue, and this is the core concept of the functional matrix theory. With this, let's understand what are the functional matrix hypotheses. So the skeletal tissue's characteristics are secondary responses to the non-skeletal events. So the skeletal tissue's characteristics are secondary responses to the non-skeletal events. This highlights the dependency of skeletal tissues on non-skeletal tissues and functions. So the hypothesis states that the skeletal tissues, they respond in a secondary manner to the non-skeletal tissues. Non-skeletal tissues mean the soft tissues that are surrounding the skeletal tissues. This highlights the dependency of skeletal tissues on the non-skeletal tissues as well as function. So again, function is the key word here. It's not just the simple growth of the soft tissues which is acting as an inducer of growth, but also the functional demands. So I'm continuously mentioning functions. So what are these functions? Let's understand them. Craniofacial region functions. There are a number of different functions that are performed by several structures together in the craniofacial region, and all of these functions, they can be categorized as respiration, olfaction, vision, hearing, balance, chewing, digestion, swallowing, speech, as well as neural integration. So all of these are the functions, the various functions that are performed by the structures in the craniofacial region. Now let's exactly see what are the different components of the functional cranial component and understand what it is. Each function is performed by a specific component. So all of the functions that I mentioned below, like respiration, olfaction, vision, it is performed by several different structures that work together, and these are specific components that can perform that function. These components include tissues, organs, spaces, and skeletal parts necessary for performing each function. So from this we understand that it's the skeletal parts like your bones, some spaces, organs, as well as tissues. So all of these different parts come together to perform the particular function that will attribute to one functional cranial component. All of the tissues working together performing one function, they comprise the functional cranial component. Now, the functional cranial component is divided into two parts. One is the functional matrix and the second is the skeletal unit. Now, let's see what these parts are. First, let's talk about the skeletal unit. This is defined by its association with a single function. So what they're trying to say is that a skeletal unit, which is the part of a functional cranial component, it is responsible or it is associated for performing one particular function. This includes bone, cartilage, and tendinous tissue. Very, very important point. So when we talk about skeletal unit, it not just refers to the bone, but also the cartilage along with the bone and the tendons. So remember this, what does skeletal unit comprise of? Bone, cartilage, and tendinous tissue. Now the skeletal unit itself can be divided into two different types. You have two types, which are the microskeletal units and the macroskeletal units. Macroskeletal units, they are nothing but big bones that are part of that functional cranial component. So for example, there is mandible and maxilla, which are skeletal units. The mandible is one skeletal unit and same with the maxilla, which is one skeletal unit. So these are the macroskeletal units. Now let's understand what are microskeletal units. Microskeletal units, they mean smaller parts of the larger bones. So let's take for example the mandible. Within the mandible, there are different parts of the mandible, so we can divide it and segregate the mandible into different parts like the coronoid part or the condyle, the body of the mandible. All of these are the different parts of the mandible, and all of these are individual microskeletal units. When these microskeletal units come together, they form a macroskeletal unit. Now let's see what are functional matrix. Functional matrix refers to all the non-skeletal parts. So in the skeletal units, we saw macroskeletal units, microskeletal units, the bones, cartilage, and the tendons. In the functional matrix, there are muscles, glands, nerves, vessels, fat, teeth, as well as functioning spaces. This is a very, very important part. So remember what functional matrix consists of: muscles, glands, nerves, vessels, fats, teeth, as well as functioning spaces. Functional matrix can be further divided into two: periosteal matrix and capsular matrix. Let's understand what each one of them mean. Starting with the periosteal matrix. So as the word suggests, this is the periosteum and it's termed as the periosteal matrix. They act directly on the skeletal units, influencing their size and shape. The key word here is that periosteal matrix act directly on the skeletal units. They influence their size as well as shape. Transformation is achieved through the bone deposition and resorption. Bone deposition and resorption is like a bone remodeling process which the periosteal matrix can enable, and this is how they cause the change in the shape and the size of the skeletal tissues. And remember that periosteal matrix acts directly on the skeletal units. Now let's see the capsular matrix. So as I told you, the two parts of the functional matrix are the periosteal matrix and the other part are capsular matrix. So capsular matrix, they impact the skeletal units indirectly, affecting the spatial position. So as we studied, periosteal matrix act directly, whereas capsular matrix acts indirectly. They affect the spatial position. So as we saw here that periosteal matrix affects the size and the shape, whereas capsular matrix affects the spatial position. The changes occur due to expansion of the capsules, like for example the orofacial capsules. Now let's see the examples of the capsular matrix. There are two examples, neurocranial and orofacial capsules. These are nothing but examples of the capsular matrix, contain the functional cranial component and are covered by the layers like skin and mucosa. So let's exactly see what we studied in the form of a flowchart. So we had the functional cranial component, which was divided into two parts, the functional matrix and the skeletal unit. The functional matrix further contains the periosteal matrix and the capsular matrix, and the skeletal units can be further divided into the microskeletal units and the macroskeletal units. The examples are the maxilla and the mandible. Let's see this pictographical representation and you'll understand exactly how this functional cranial component works. So we're taking the example of the brain. The brain is enclosed in this capsular matrix over here. Now this capsular matrix is surrounded by the macroskeletal as well as the microskeletal units. The macroskeletal unit and the microskeletal unit, they contain different sutures as well as synchondrosis, which is present in the cranium. Then we have the example of the microskeletal unit, which is the temporal line. So for this particular functional cranial component, the capsular matrix surrounds the brain, and in addition it is surrounded by the macroskeletal units as well as the microskeletal unit like the temporal line. We can also observe sutures as well as synchondrosis which are present. And the periosteal matrix that it is surrounded by is the temporalis muscle, which acts directly on the skeletal units. So this is exactly how functional cranial component works. There are many more such notes which you can access through the NEET resources section on the Medi StudyGo app. These contain numerous different important information in the form of the different MCQs as well as notes which you can access for complete NEET resources. So do check this out, and you can download the app from the App Store as well as the Play Store. Now it's time to test your knowledge through the MCQ and the flashcard for today. The MCQ is the neurocranium's growth as per the functional matrix theory is primarily driven by A. Sutures, which are the periosteal matrix, B. The brain, which is the capsular matrix, C. Are the synchondrosis alone, the keyword here is alone, and finally the genetic programming of the calvarium. So these are slightly confusing questions, but according to the functional matrix theory, that is what they precisely ask in the question, which means that A. Sutures, that is periosteal matrix, Make sure that you don't get confused with the term periosteal matrix, because this also comes in the functional matrix theory, as well as they are using it as a synonym for the sutures. So make sure you read all the options and don't get confused. So A was sutures. So according to the functional matrix theory, they do not attribute sutures as the primary growth mechanisms for anything in the neurocranial region. This option A was more suitable to the sutural theory by Seeker. Option C is synchondrosis alone. Again, the keyword here is alone. So what they're trying to say is that are synchondrosis alone enough for performing the growth of the craniofacial region? No. Option D is genetic programming of the calvarium. This brings us back to the genetic theory, which stated that the genes are responsible for the growth, and that's not under the control. So again, according to the functional matrix theory, there's nothing much that they talk about regarding the genetics of the growth, and therefore option B, which is the brain or the capsular matrix, is the correct answer. So let's reveal the answer. And the answer is the brain, which is the capsular matrix, which is precisely what we studied. Capsular matrix is a non-skeletal structure, and first the change will occur in the non-skeletal structure, and that is going to influence the growth in your skeletal structures. So option B is the correct answer. Let's move on to the flashcard. Transformation in periosteal matrix occurs through. So they are exactly asking the periosteal matrix. If you remember, and if you've paid attention, you'll remember that periosteal matrix acts directly onto the skeletal units. And what is the mode in which they cause the change? It is the surface remodeling, which is bone deposition and bone resorption. So let's see the answer. Yes, it is bone deposition and resorption. So these were the MCQs as well as the flashcards. And if you want to access more such study material, you can head to the Medi Study Go app, where you can have access to the different mind maps, notes, videos, flashcards, MCQs, and much more. And if you've liked this video, you can give it a like, subscribe, and share it with all of your friends. And until I see you, this is Dr. Manjari Bhate signing off. Keep studying and keep practicing with Medi Study Go. Thank you.